Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really painful, deeply psychological trap. If you've ever found yourself stuck in this exhausting loop of pain, deceit, and arguments, knowing deep down it's draining your energy and that the other person is never going to change, we're going to break down the fascinating and honestly surprising psychological reasons why we stay when we know we should leave, and more importantly, how to finally. So why do we stay in relationships that hurt us? It is incredibly frustrating to ask yourself that question. You promise yourself you'll leave, but something always pulls you back. If you keep getting pulled back, it turns out the answer isn't just because you love them too much. It's not even because they manipulated you so perfectly that you couldn't think straight, or because things used to be good and you're just hoping they'll magically improve. The real answer goes much deeper than that, and that brings us to this core myth. It's time to expose it. You're not actually trapped by your partner. You're trapped by a familiar emotional cycle that they trigger inside of you. These relationships act almost like a mirror, awakening unresolved childhood wounds, unmet needs, and a desperate fear of being alone. You become tethered to the feelings of anticipation, anxiety, and relief that the relationship constantly cycles through. Just physically leaving the relationship isn't enough because that internal emotional tether will drag you right back. All right, the root cause, childhood conditioning. Let's look at how our earliest years literally wire our brains for love. From the exact moment we're born, our brains associate safety with however we received love. If you grew up in a balanced environment, makes sense, right? But if you grew up with a mix of love and pain, like maybe love was conditional, sometimes close, sometimes pushed away, your brain learned something completely different. It learned that love is hard, that it requires fighting and proving yourself. So if a stable, healthy partner comes along, your brain doesn't even recognize the pattern. It feels fake or just kind of boring. But when a toxic partner brings chaos and tiny breadcrumbs of affection, your brain lights up. It says, I know this. This is love. Without realizing it, you're subconsciously trying to finally win the love you had to fight for as a child. This brings us to part 2, the psychological trap, the science of addiction. What you're experiencing right now isn't actually love. It is a textbook psychological addiction. The crucial concept here was discovered by the famous psychologist B.F. Skinner. It's called intermittent reinforcement. When a reward is guaranteed, we actually get bored. But when we don't know when the next reward is coming, our brains become completely obsessed. To put this into perspective, Skinner put rats in a box with a lever. When the lever gave food every time, the rats only pressed it when they were hungry. But when the lever gave food randomly and unpredictably, those rats pushed that lever like crazy, completely obsessed with getting that next hit. In a toxic relationship, you are in that box. You are held captive waiting for random, tiny breadcrumbs of affection from your partner. Think about it. If they were terrible to you 100% of the time, it's those rare, unprompted moments of warmth and love that keep you pressing the lever, just hoping today is the day they go back to being the perfect partner you met on day one. This intermittent reinforcement slowly forces you to abandon your boundaries. At the very beginning of the relationship, you wanted respect, you wanted equality and commitment. But as this unpredictable cycle wears you down, your entire definition of a relationship starts to warp. You start lowering your original standards, tricking yourself into accepting the bare minimum, a text back. You start thinking, well, if I just act a little more understanding, or if I just change myself a bit more, they'll go back to how they were. But honestly, it was always about control. Let's move on to section 3, weapons of control, deconstructing manipulation. To maintain this addiction and keep you pressing that lever, toxic partners use specific mental weapons to break down your reality. They need you to stay confused so you don't realize you hold the power to leave. Take gaslighting, for example. When you notice a lie or a contradiction and confront them, they'll say, oh, you're just being too sensitive, or you're making a big deal out of nothing. Their actual goal is to make you doubt your own sanity and memories. You start checking old text messages just to prove to yourself that you aren't crazy. Then there's projection. If they lie, they call you untrustworthy. If they have anger issues, they say you provoked them. they shift their guilt directly onto you, creating a heavy burden of false guilt. Ultimately, they do the whole shebang to separate you from your own identity, making you dependent on their virtue. If you have ever asked yourself, am I going crazy, while pacing in your room after an argument right now, you are not crazy, you are not overthinking, and you are not wrong. You are simply enduring severe emotional manipulation. Your self-esteem is being systematically shattered so that you will blindly believe the one person who is actually. So, if you know you're being manipulated, why is the door so hard to walk through? It all comes down to this massive battle, the fear of loneliness versus the illusion of love. Ever since childhood, society conditions us to fear being alone. Movies, songs, social media, they all preach that if you are single, you're incomplete. When your confidence is already destroyed by a toxic partner who tells you no one else will ever love you, you falsely believe that enduring a broken, painful love is somehow better than facing the dreaded void of. You basically choose to break yourself just to feel accepted. But it doesn't have to be this way. Part 4. The escape plan. Getting out requires shifting our perspective entirely. We need to treat this like a clinical addiction recovery. Missing them isn't a sign of true love. It is literally a symptom of emotional withdrawal from a psychological drug. You are going to feel intense emptiness. Your brain will play tricks on you, highlighting only their warm smiles and sweet words, conveniently erasing all the trauma. You'll probably convince yourself you just need to talk to them one last time for closure. But listen to me. Closure is a myth. It's just an excuse your addicted brain uses to get another hit of the drug. Here is your role. First, you have to accept that you are in love with an illusion of who they could be, not who they actually are. Second, and this is absolutely critical, enforce the absolute no contact rule. No texts. Every single time you engage, you restart the withdrawal cycle. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. Finally, you must rebuild the identity that was stolen from you. Go rediscover the high you dropped to keep them happy. Reconnect with the friends you were isolated from, and start feeding your own mind and body again. As part of your detox, I want to give you a highly effective and practical tool. Write down every cruel thing they ever did to you. Every lie, every manipulation, every time they made you feel worthless. Read it every single time your brain tries to trick you into missing them. When that inner voice says you aren't good enough, realize that it isn't your voice at all. It's the echo of their manipulation, and you have the power to silence it. You can absolutely do this. I'll leave you with this final thought for our explainer today. Leaving is going to hurt, for sure, but staying is a slow destruction of your soul. You are not in love. You are caught in a psychological trap. It's time to stop drinking the poison just because. Ask yourself, will you stay addicted to an illusion, or will you walk through the withdrawal to take back control of your own life? The choice and the freedom is entirely yours.